Welcome geometers to the video on inverse trigonometry. Today's objective is to use inverse trigonometry to find missing angle measures. Remember that inverse operations are operations that undo each other. So addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, square root and squaring. So we've learned about trig so far. We've learned how to write sine, cosine, and tangent ratios. We've learned how to use those ratios to find sides. Now we're going to use those ratios to find angles. So looking at example 1, it says find the missing angle measures. We know angle C is 90, so we have to find both angles A and B. I'm going to start by finding angle A. I need to look at what two sides I have. I have the 36, which is opposite of A. I have 85, which is the hypotenuse. So again, I'm going to write SOHCAHTOA at the top of my notes. I need to think which ratio uses opposite and hypotenuse. Well, it's going to be sine. So I'm going to take sine. Remember that we take sine of an angle. So I'm going to take sine of angle A is equal to opposite, which is 36, over hypotenuse, which is 85. Now, right now, a lot of students like to divide by sine. Well, we need to remember that this is a unit. It's like the sine and the A are married. You can't just break them up. So what we need to do is we need to use an operation that will break them up, which is the inverse sign. So it looks like this. Sine to the negative first. And I take the inverse sign on both sides. That's what the -1 means. It means inverse. As I said earlier, inverses undo each other. So this inverse sign and that sign are going to undo each other. So angle A is going to be the inverse sine of 36 over 85. And now we need to go to the calculator. Okay, so let's go to our calculator. Your calculator should still be in degree mode from yesterday. So we need to take inverse sine. So you're going to hit second sine, and you'll notice it's going to say sine of -1 of 36 over 85, and then hit enter. So this is the measure of angle A. So the measure of angle A is 25.06 degrees. From here, I need to find the measure of angle B. Well, I know that every triangle, the angles add up to 180. I already have a 90-degree angle, so then I also know that the measure of angle A add the measure of angle B is going to be 90. So in this case, the measure of angle B is going to be 90 subtract angle A. So subtract 25.06. The measure of angle B then is 64.94 degrees. So that was our first example. It's a little easier than yesterday because you only have to set up one ratio. And then you just have to use the fact that the angles are going to be 180 in a triangle to find the second angle. So before I let you try one on your own, let's do example 2 together. Again, it says find the missing angle measures. So I'm going to start with A like I did before. So I have the opposite side from A, which is 33, and I have the adjacent side. This side right here would be the hypotenuse, but I don't have that. Okay, so I need to think what ratio uses opposite and adjacent. Well, that's going to be TOA, it's going to be tangent. So I have the tangent of angle A is equal to 33 over 56. Okay, but remember, tangent and A are in a very happy marriage. You can't just divide by tangent. Instead, you have to physically break them up. You're going to have to take the inverse. So I'm going to take the inverse tangent on both sides. Because remember, whatever I do the left side, I have to do the right side as well. So on the left side, inverse tangent and just normal tangent undo each other. They disappear. So I'm left with angle A is the inverse tangent of 33 over 56. Remember that it's inverse tangent. So when you go to your calculator, you're going to have to do second tangent. When you do second tangent, the -1 will appear. After I do this, I get A to be 30.51 degrees. Then the measure of angle B is going to be 90 subtract angle A. So 90 subtract 30.51. So angle B is 59.49 degrees. And I always like to just do a little mental check to see, does this make sense? So in my triangle, I have 30.51, 59.49. So in my triangle, the smaller side is across from the smaller angle, bigger side across from the bigger angle. So that makes sense. We've learned that before. It's just a good little mental check. And we can even do that in the first example. We have 25.06, 64.94. It's a little difficult here because we don't have this third side, so it's a little harder to check. You could find the third side using the Pythagorean theorem if you wanted to, and it would be bigger than 36. So if you have the two sides, it's a good way to, mentally check that your angles make sense. Okay, let's go to example 3. Find the missing angle measures. This one I would like you to try on your own. Pause the video, try this one on your own, and come back when you are finished, please. Okay, let's see how we did. Looking for angle A, we have opposite here, adjacent here, and hypotenuse. Well, I don't know the opposite side, so I'm going to have to use cosine because I have adjacent and hypotenuse. So the cosine of angle A is going to be adjacent, which is 3 root 7, over 12, which is the hypotenuse. Remember that I have to take the inverse in order to break up the cosine and the A. If I take the inverse on the left side, I got to take it on the right side as well. Inverse and normal cosine just cancel each other out. So I'm left with angle A is the inverse cosine of 3 root 7 over 12. Okay, you have to be very, very careful putting this into your calculator. For some of you, when you put a square root in your calculator, it pops up with parentheses. So what you should have done is the cosine negative 1, the second cosine, and then 3 root 7. If it pops up with parentheses, you need to end the parentheses. Some of you don't pop up with parentheses, which is okay. And then you're going to divide by 12 and end the final parentheses. That's what you should have done. If you did that correctly, you would have gotten angle A to be 48.59 degrees. When you subtract that from 90, you get angle B to be 41.41 degrees. If you did not get those answers and you had the correct setup, please try to do this again in your calculator. It's very easy to put something in the calculator incorrectly. If you can't figure it out, please make sure you ask me during class tomorrow. It could be because you're putting it in wrong. It could be because your calculator is not in degrees. It could be a whole bunch of different issues, but make sure you ask tomorrow. If that went well for you, awesome. If it didn't, hopefully you know what mistake you made. Please flip the page. Okay, last one, example 4. I would like you to try this one on your own also, please. Good luck. Okay, let's see how we did. If I look for angle R first, this time I have opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. I have all three. So I could use sine, I could use cosine, I could use tangent. It's up to you. Whatever way you did it, you should have gotten angle R to be 36.87 degrees, whether or not you used sine, cosine, or tangent. After you subtract from 90, angle S ends up being 53.13 degrees. If you got that wrong, your setup could be wrong. You could have plugged it into the calculator wrong. Make sure that you do the inverse of whatever ratio you chose. So you do the inverse sine or the inverse cosine or the inverse tangent in your calculator. If you don't, that'll certainly give you the wrong answer. So hopefully that one went well. When you come to class tomorrow, I'm going to be checking to see that you have example 4 completed fully and correctly, especially since I gave you the answers. beyond example 4, I am also going to be checking the first example on the classwork. So example 4 needs to be completed correctly, and then example 1 on the classwork needs to be completed correctly. If they're not completed, I won't give you full credit. If you need a little extra help, I'm right now going to show you how to do example 2. If you're good, you can stop the video. If you want to see one more example, please follow along with me. So I'm going to start by finding x. Here I have opposite and I have adjacent, so I'm going to use tangent. The tangent of angle x is opposite over adjacent, 7/3. In order to get rid of that tangent, I'm going to take the inverse on both sides. So x is going to end up being the inverse tangent of 7/3. So I'm going to hit second tangent, 7 divided by 3, and close my parentheses. When I do that, I get angle x to be 66.80 degrees. To find angle y, I take 90 and I subtract my 66.80. I subtract x. And that's because I already have one angle that's 90 degrees. The entire triangle is 180, so the other two angles have to sum to be 90 as well. When I do that, I get angle y to be 23.20 degrees. Hopefully that helped. If you need a little extra assistance, please make sure you have 1 on the classwork done, and then example 4 from the video completed as well. Good luck!